Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another black powder update. Today I've actually got a double video package for you. There's these chaps here and also a normal battalion of troops as well, so look out for those chaps. So basically what we have here is what I basically did as a filler. I think I mentioned it in my last video actually, that I was going to do these guys. These guys are basically the Regimental Commanders for the 2nd Brigade of the 2nd Netherlands. They're basically, you know, normally there would be sort of colonel figures. However, obviously these guys have got slightly different ranks. I'll go into that when I get to them individually. Now I started doing this style of commander for regiments when I was doing my Imperial Guard, and the main reason was that because French battalions, French regiments are made up of sort of 3 or 4 battalions, sometimes 2. They always have chef de battalions that are in command of the individual battalions, and that kind of leaves you with a choice of what to do with the colonel. You know, do you just mention him and not have a figure for him, or do you just write him on, you know, in sort of command of one of the other battalions, or do you, you know, not model him at all and just, you know, perhaps mention his name when you're talking about them or whatever. And I sort of thought, well, no, you know, I'm actually going to do them as sort of a separate figure. Now, for sort of proper command bases, I tend to use 60 millers for 60mm circular bases for both brigade commanders and also for divisional commanders. Main difference being that generally brigade commanders would just be a, you know, more or less a single figure mounted on the base, and for divisional commanders I tend to either give them a really flashy base or put a secondary figure or perhaps sometimes even a 3rd figure on to sort of denote that they are a little bit of higher status. And of course, because of that, I didn't want to put these guys on circular bases at all, which is why I decided to put them on their normal 25 by 50 sort of bog standard cavalry bases. Now I did actually come up with my own sort of house rules for regiments that have separate colonel figures like this, and basically what it is, I mean, I suppose you could call it regimental initiative, I suppose. So basically, when you get a failed command roll, and you know, it might leave troops without orders, so they can't do anything. You basically roll a dice, and if it's a 1, they will do something random, and if it's a 6, they will get the ability to do 1 move of whatever the colonel wishes, and that's kind of just counting for, you know, maybe a colonel who is you know, frustrated that he hasn't been given orders when he knows he's got to do something, and therefore he makes the initiative of sort of basically ordering his regiment to make a move. And of course, so the penalty to that is if they get a random where he had basically ordered them to do something completely wrong, you know, unless of course you get the result of what you actually want to do. So that's basically the reasoning for the sort of the rules of these guys. But generally, they're nothing more than just a decoration on the table to sort of march along with the regiment, really. But that's that. So let's get into a little bit more detail on these boys. So like I said, we have 2 commanding officers for the regiments. We have the 2nd Nassau and we have the 28th Orange Nassau. Let's start off with the 2nd Nassau. Now this guy is a Perry's miniature. He actually came in the Prince of Saxe-Weimar's box. And as soon as I sort of saw him, I had my eagle eye on him to actually fill this position, because there's actually very few Nassau sort of command figures available. And now obviously front rank do them, but of course they kind of look a little bit huge. So I thought, well, this I didn't really want a front rank officer to actually fulfill this particular role, so I thought, well, in that case, I'm going to grab hold of this guy because, you know, why spend extra money, and also, you know, he's the right rank, so use him. And to tell the truth, I'm really glad I did, because even though the Prince of Saxe-Weimar is, you know, a little bit more famous than your bog standard brigade commander, he is actually he will have like a slightly special base. He's going to basically have two figures on rather than just the bog standard one that most brigade commanders have. So this guy basically became open, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna grab him and use him as the regimental colonel for the second, and that's what I did, and I think he turned out pretty cool. We have the usual basing, the Daz Clay built up base, and I gave him a bay horse. So that is Major F. Sattler of the second Nassau. So that's him. Now the second figure I did was the commanding officer of the 28th Orange Nassau. Now this chap is a little bit of a first in the fact that I've done the regimental colonel before I've even started doing any of his troops, because I do tend to do these guys normally at the end after I finish the troops. Now, along with this guy comes a very interesting story, which I've got to say was not the easiest to try and dig my way around and actually find out exactly what happened, because a lot of places have either no mention of it or have conflicting information. Now I'm sort of inclined to kind of keep the full story until I actually do the Prince of Saxe-Weimar, because I think you know, it'll add to his because it obviously involves him. It'll add to his sort of video. However, to sort of cut things a little bit short, so basically the original commanding officer of the 28th, which would be this particular figure here, was originally the Prince of Saxe-Weimar, Prince Bernhard of Saxe-Weimar, I believe is his full title, and he was the rank of colonel. However, something happened and he actually got promoted, brevetted. Now, like I say, I'm not going to go into sort of full details at this point, but basically what happened was that because he got taken from the regiment, the commanding officer of the 1st Battalion, the Lieutenant Colonel, the Duke of Saxe-Weimar von Dressel, became the commanding officer of the regiment, and that's what this figure is representing. And the figure I chose for him is actually the commanding officer from the Nassau box of Elite that I got, and I think it actually suits him that he's got this sort of like you know, the sort of tricorn hat, or the bicorn rather, because of his sort of slightly more regal status. And I think this figure's actually perfect for him, to tell the truth. I've given him a white horse to show that he's, you know, maybe a little bit more special than your bog standard officer. He looks kind of, he's got that sort of like slightly arrogant look, and even the horse is kind of looking a bit arrogant himself. It's I thought this figure was perfect for the role, and I'm really happy that I chose him in the end. But yeah, that's the two colonels that I did, and that's the end of this particular part of the video. So obviously look out for the second video, which of course is the 1st Battalion of the 28th. And until then, I'll catch you all later. Bye bye.